Welcome to Nature to Nurture, simply caring for our children, where we explore the simple joys and practices of nurturing children in today's world. I'm Tiffany, your host and guide on this journey of discovery and growth. In each episode, we delve into topics that matter most to parents, caregivers, and anyone passionate about providing loving, meaningful care to little ones. From embracing traditional practices to harnessing the power of nature in child development, we cover it all with a focus on simplicity and heart. So whether you're a seasoned parent looking for fresh insights or a new caregiver eager to learn, join us as we dive into the world of nurturing care practices and celebrate the beauty of childhood. Let's embark on this journey together because every moment spent nurturing a child is a moment of beautiful connection and growth. Hi, Mama, and welcome to the next episode of Nature to Nurture. I'm Tiffany, your host, and I want to start off today by saying you are not alone. If you're tuning in right now, feeling like you are barely keeping it together, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, I want you to know that I've been there too. Really, truly, I have been there. For years, I was trying so hard to be the perfect mom, to make sure that my family had everything I thought they needed to be happy. And guess what? I was exhausted, drained, and honestly, completely lost. So today, I want to share my story not as someone who has it all figured out, but as a fellow mom who's still on the journey, just like you. You know, there was a time not too long ago when I felt like I was drowning in motherhood. I thought I was doing everything right. I was waking up early, trying to keep the house spotless, running a million errands, making sure my kids were involved in all of the right activities. But behind the scenes, I was falling apart. I started waking up at 3 a.m. every morning, just stressed about everything I had to do. And at night, I was drinking. I would drink a beer or two just to calm down. I even started adding Baileys to my morning coffee because I felt like I needed it to take the edge off of all that anxiety that I was feeling, just to be able to get through the day. And it wasn't just affecting me, it was affecting my kids. Normally, we don't drink. And I'll never forget the day that my 9-year-olds noticed that I was drinking more and they said, "Mom, you're having another one?" I remember looking into their little faces and thinking, what am I doing? It hit me like a ton of bricks. That day, I hit my breaking point. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I needed to get out of the house, so I grabbed my dogs, laced up my boots, and headed for the mountains. I spent 2 hours hiking through the snow, mud, and cold. I cried, I prayed, I ran. I just needed to breathe. I needed to feel something other than stress, other than overwhelm. And you know what? In those 2 hours out there in nature, something shifted in me. I realized a couple of things. First, I needed some help, real professional help. And second, I was longing for simplicity. I realized that I wasn't living in alignment with my family's needs or my own. I was trying to fit in our life into this perfect mold, and it was suffocating us. That hike was the first step toward me finding my way back. And I know I'm not alone in this. So many moms are struggling with anxiety and depression. Anxiety levels in mothers are higher than ever. We are expected to do so much, and yet there's so little support for the real emotional toll this takes on us. We are bombarded by images of perfect families on social media. The pressure to have the spotless house, the well-behaved kids, the full social calendar, it's just too much. And if you're feeling that way, I want to tell you it's okay. You are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. What you might need, though, is permission to start living in alignment with what your family truly needs, not what the world expects from you. So how do we start to find that joy again? How do we go from overwhelmed to peaceful? Here are some practical steps that helped me, and I hope they can help you too. Step 1, align your routines with your family's values. One of the biggest shifts for me was letting go of all the shoulds, the things I should be doing, and instead focusing on what really matters to my family. For example, mornings were always rushed, stressful, and chaotic for us. I wanted to have that picture-perfect breakfast table, but the reality was it wasn't working. So when we started to slow down, we created a morning routine that's all about connection. We wake up, and instead of rushing, we sit together with a drink, maybe some hot apple cider in the fall or herbal tea, and we just be. We take 5 to 10 minutes outside to feel the sun and hear the birds and breathe. And then we sit down for a quick journaling session, reflecting on what we're grateful for and what we want to focus on for the day. I can't tell you how much this changed the energy in our home. You don't have to recreate this exact routine, but I encourage you to think about one simple way you can start your day in a way that aligns with what your family needs. Maybe it's a slow breakfast. Maybe it's music. I love music. I always put on some inspired Christian music to start off our morning. Or maybe it's just a few minutes of quiet time together. Step number 2, create breaks for recharging. This one is for you, mama. We moms are constantly moving. We're always doing something for our kids, our homes, our partners. But it is okay to stop. One thing I've learned is to give myself permission to take breaks, real, meaningful breaks, where I step away from the noise, even if it's just for a few minutes. For me, this started as simply sitting in my car for a minute after school drop-off. I'd close my eyes, take a deep breath, and ask myself, what do I need right now? It might be a drink of water, a moment of fresh air, or just a pause to reset. It sounds so simple, but these tiny moments can recharge you and help you move throughout the day with more peace. Another way to recharge is through movement. It doesn't have to be a full workout, just a quick walk around the block or a stretch in the kitchen while the kids play. For me, I like to walk out and look at my little chickens. Movement helps release that pent-up stress, gets the blood flowing, and plus it reminds us to connect with our bodies, especially when we feel overwhelmed by mental stress. So take a break, take a pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what do you need right now? Step number 3, build a support system. This one's huge, and it took me a while to realize it, but mama, you do not have to do this alone. We were never meant to parent in isolation. Reach out for help, whether it's your family, friends, a therapist, or even an online community. It is so important to have people you can lean on. I've started to be really intentional about asking for help, and guess what? People want to help. They just might not know how until you ask. Maybe it's having a friend watch the kids for an hour so you can go on a solo walk, or asking your partner or your kids to take over dinner duty a couple nights a week. The key is to communicate your needs. And if you're struggling with depression or anxiety, please don't be afraid to seek professional help. Talking to someone who can give you tools to cope can be life-changing. I know for myself, I was not ready to speak with a therapist, but I knew I needed help. So I spoke with my doctor. That was the first step to figuring what habits I needed to change in order to support a better life and to get out of the depression. And for me, I have seasonal depression, so I know this is coming back here in probably a month. And what are the habits that I need to have so that this depression doesn't spike up again, but instead so that I am listening to myself and I am taking care of myself. All right, step number 4, let go of perfection. This one still makes me a little anxious. I have perfectionism drilled into me. I am trying so hard to complete work, even if it's not perfect. I'm trying so hard to complete these episodes for you all, even if they're not perfect, because nothing's perfect, right? Letting go of that. So let's go to how I was doing this with my family. I was trying so hard to create the perfect life for my family. having the spotless house, the organized schedule, constant activities, but I was burning myself out and it wasn't bringing us joy. My husband and I were tense. My kids weren't getting my real connection. And that's when I realized I didn't need to do it all. Letting go of perfection is so hard for me. But once I started to do it, I have felt this huge weight lifted off of me. Instead of trying to do it all, I'm focusing on what truly matters to us, spending quality time together and creating meaningful memories. Slowing down. And here's a little tip I started using. For every task on my to-do list, I ask myself, is this really necessary? If the answer is no, I let it go. Sometimes that means skipping the laundry for a day or saying no to yet another kid's activity. And guess what? Life goes on. And we are happier. Even last night, we had so much that we were trying to figure out. And as a family, we chose together that we were going to skip out on the soccer clinic. It was one thing that we could take off that could make our evening calmer, more peaceful, and more joyful. And we were so happy about it. All right, our final step, step 5, find joy in small everyday moments. It's so easy to get caught up in the big things we need to do for our families. But some of the most joyful moments are in the little everyday things. It's in sitting with your kids during breakfast, watching them laugh, stepping outside together to look at the stars after dinner, or my favorite, holding their hand while you're in the car. One of my favorite things we started doing as a family is spending time outside. Even if it's just for a few minutes, it could be a short walk in the morning, sitting on the porch with a warm drink. Nature has a way of grounding us and reminding of us what really matters. So find those little moments for connection with your family and lean into them. These are the moments that fill your heart. I hope this episode gave you a little bit of hope, a little bit of comfort, and some practical tools to start finding more joy and peace in your journey as a mom. And remember, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about finding what works for you and for your family. If you loved this episode, I'd love for you to come and join our community of like-minded moms over on Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram for more inspiration and tips on finding peace and joy in motherhood. And if you're feeling generous, I would love if you would leave a review. It helps more moms find this podcast and join our little community. Thank you for listening, mamas. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode.